Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're going to get started in about a minute. And welcome to the Social Trends Explorer launch. This is going to be a quick webinar. It's a 30-minute. We're just telling you guys what we've been up to at Help Seeker on the data analysis and visualization end. And surprised by how excited people were to join this one. We never know when we do these new launches how the community is going to respond. But yeah, pleasantly surprised. 150 folks are attending this morning. Because it is a quick one, we will not have our usual time to do shout outs live while people join. But if folks want to say hello in the chat, that would be amazing. So just your name, organization, community, First Nation, if you know the traditional territory and treaty as well. And like I said, we'll get started and going relatively quickly here. My name is Alina Turner. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Help Seeker Tech. I'm going to present to you things that I did not do myself. So this is a big shout out to our team at Help Seeker in the data science and strategic services side that came up with this invention. So really excited to share with you what we've been up to. And yeah, excited to launch this. I'll share my screen and we can get into it right away. And I will walk you through what to expect. So the background to the Social Trends Explorer is that, as Help Seeker folks know, we've been in communities doing a lot of social needs analysis for the last 7 years, if you count precursors to some of our products. And we always have to start with the basic demographics and the basic population trends. Unfortunately, that actually takes a lot of time to do. And so we've, over the years, we've developed these internal tools that have fed us up in doing social needs assessments and analyses of how a community compares to similar communities, et cetera. So what I'm showing you guys today and what we're bringing to the marketplace is a tool that we developed to make us faster and better at some of our work. But then we said, hey, this is a little awkward just porting it to ourselves. How can we bring this to the community and make it low cost, beautiful, and easy to use? And you guys can take advantage of it as well. So this is the Social Trends Explorer. Like I said, every project we begin, hundreds of communities, hundreds of projects, we always start with this tool to give us that baseline of what's happening in this community and how this community, again, compares with others as well. So with that, acknowledgement of the land I'm joining you from. So I'm joining you from Treaty 7, Mohkinstsis, aka Calgary, aka the land of smoke and birth pipelines. And so thank you again for joining us today as well from all of the different corners of the country. I wanted to give you a quick overview. Yeah, somebody's laughing at the birth pipelines. Yeah, now we got smoke too, so we're just loving it, loving it out here. Lucky for me, I'm heading out on holidays next week, so hopefully when I come back, it'll all be fixed. But yeah, we're gonna walk you through the Explorer. We'll show you the key features and benefits. We'll do a quick demo and then make sure we have time for Q&A as well. So the whole point of this is to give you guys that basic, everybody needs to know this about the community that they're living in. Not everybody has time to do this data analysis on their own. So I don't want to make it seem like this is brand new data. This is, tried and tested census data that we have analyzed in novel ways so that we can actually make it useful. And if you say, well, can I go do this myself? Absolutely, you can go do this yourself. You can, hire your data visualization specialist. You can hire people to do the data crunching for you. Absolutely. So the value proposition is not that it's new data. The value proposition is that it's all been packaged for you and is beautiful and ready to go, if you will. So the whole point here is that we're bringing that data to give you that visually engaging insight of what's happening in your community at that neighborhood level, but also in comparison to other communities in your in your country and in your province as well. So I'll show you how that works. And then I'm going to give you some examples of why you care about these things. That's oftentimes where people fall apart, is they'll look at the data set and not make the connection that if you're not using this data basically in every policy recommendation or basically in every report you're writing, you're probably not doing justice to the topic in a evidence-based way, because all of this, the reason we have a census is that we use the data in decision making, and I often am surprised how little we use this very, very powerful data set. And the hypothesis, though, is it's because it's really hard to use because it's not ready for us to use. So hopefully this brings you there. So what we have in the product is about 5,000 communities, aka everything in Canada that you can imagine. If it's a community, it's in there. And 55,000 neighborhoods. And the neighborhoods are at that really, really minutia level. So as you can even see in this Calgary one, I'm living in down here southeast, and there's even within my neighborhood of Sundance, there's multiple dissemination areas that we have data on, because even within the same neighborhood, there's actually different kinds of pockets that you can understand at an even deeper level. And so keep that in mind, is that the data gets really, really minute, but it can help you understand those social needs and priority areas at the geographic level, but also at the kind of more macro city level as well. I also mentioned that it's important to understand how your community compares to other regions in your province as well. So we've included some of this data at within the provincial landscape, so that you can understand, hey, am I the fastest growing community? Am I how do I compare in terms of my low income concentrations, right? So the deeper the blue, for instance, is obviously means the more concentration we have. So it gives you that at a glance look, but of course you can dig deeper and you can layer the data as well. And I'll show you that in a second. So this layered mapping, for instance, allows you to look at 2 indicators at a time. And so if you wanted to understand, and this one's just showing you a screenshot, but I'll show it to you live, where do we have the highest median income or the lowest median income and the highest core housing need, right? So we can actually pick out exactly where we might target a new affordable housing build, or where we might target prevention programming for folks that might be at risk of social challenges, where we might target children's services and mobile children's services or mobile family services as well. So it gives you that at a glance look at what's happening in the community, so you can really, really make better programming and policy decisions accordingly. For you guys too that are thinking, well, how do I get this data out? Obviously, you can take your screenshot, but we also have the download format, so you can get it as a PowerPoint, PDF, image as well. So it's easy to download and grab this and go, and now you've got beautiful visualizations for your reports and your presentations as well. So that's the concept here. The key features and benefits. So again, making your social needs assessments more quickly. Oftentimes we have to do let's say now we got to make a youth social needs assessment. Well, here's your first section of that report. What's actually happening? Where is the concentration of kids, youth of different ages? Where do we have low-income families where kids live? Where do we have poor housing need? Where do we have immigration concentrations? Where do we have lots of migration, lots of movement, internal migration, etc.? This allows you to, again, look at how your community compares on a wide range of data indicators. So, do we have different variables that pop up in our community compared to our comparator communities? And your comparator communities, you guys know this. York Region, when we did some of our housing needs assessments with them, they knew exactly who their comparators were based on your local knowledge. But having that at your fingertips, so you're not having to redo those reports, is really nice and just served up for you. Like I said, the visualizations being ready to go for your reports and presentation. And again, if you're building those community safety well-being strategies, this is really critical baseline. So a safety and well-being strategy, you can't really talk about, let's even say transit safety, if you don't understand the demographics of a particular neighborhood where you're putting a new intersection, or you definitely can't talk about policing, community level policing, if you don't understand that micro detail. And we see more and more work being done at this kind of micro targeted niche approach to be much more effective in the long run, because again, we're not taking a blunt instrument in terms of our policy and program interventions. We're really informing ourselves with this critical insight. And again, for priority areas and allocating those resources more efficiently, we have some interesting use cases in children's services that are targeting vulnerable kids. And the really obvious thing was that they were actually sending their services to areas where there were no children. So it's like really basic things, right? Like, don't waste your time advertising where there is no children for children's services. But it was a really easy fix, because you just easily show, here's all the neighborhoods where the kids live. So fish where the fish are, right? It's pretty basic market analysis concepts. But again, the problem was that most of us don't have the time to have this stuff at our fingertips. For nonprofit organization, I know we've got lots of you guys in the room. Yeah, somebody's laughing at my basic business analysis here. But yeah, for nonprofit organizations, and I've done so many grant applications over the years, and the basic questions are always the same. So prove to me this is a need, right? And we automatically start going to the literature, and we'll say, oh, well, I know that there's vulnerability in kids. Well, yeah, everybody knows that. But how do you distinguish your application from the next guy who's also going to go on to Google and grab some Google Scholar stats, or some Canada-wide stats? I mean, imagine having the neighborhood level insight to say, and here's how I'm actually going to go about tailoring my program, and here's where I'm going to target my new facilities, and here's why, right? So having these beautiful visualizations that speak to the funder about your business case, it's going to strengthen the grant application. I guarantee you that. We see it all the time. We use these in our grant applications as well, or funding applications, and we use these with our Cardo subscribers that ask us to do grant applications for them. And so that's really key. The data viz and conveying the impact to your work. So having the ability to understand also how to use this data in your marketing. So saying to the community you're serving, Calgary, the reason why our housing units are being served up in these communities is X, right? Or even being anticipatory to say, we're seeing that there's concentrations of people that are needing these services, food services, or other social needs. And we are targeting that in a very, very specific way. We know that from an ethnocultural perspective, we have newcomers, and it's intuitive, and yes, people know, but yes, people also need data, proof points. They need that proof point to show that this is you know what you're talking about. So having the stuff to back yourself up in your marketing and in your community awareness and your philanthropy engagement is key. And like I said, those underserved areas can really be targeted, because you can understand, hey, in this area of the city, or we have these emerging trends, but nobody's targeting that area. So this is an emergent gap that we need to fill. So those are the features and benefits. Let's take a look, though, because that is all fine to talk about. Here's, again, I picked on Red Deer just because it's a less obvious area. And I wanted to show you what this looks like in a little bit more live. So everything is interactive, right? And again, you're able to narrow in a particular area. You're able to even look specifically on what the population in these various areas are. So here we have 564, and so your ability is to actually find out, exactly how many people are in this particular area, which I picked, of course, a very small area. The codes here, the blue line, for instance, is correlated to this being an area of high concentration. And right now we're just looking at where are kids living. But we can obviously look at more than one indicator and really narrow in by areas that have the highest concentration as well. So we can see the regions of the city that have the highest concentration of kids. We can also look at 2 indicators at a time too, so like I mentioned before. And again, we can, let's maybe go back to seeing the map in a fuller sense. The data is massive as well, so just keep that in mind. But again, at that bigger level, we can actually look at 2 indicators at any level of geography. So we can look at the province and we can look at any city. So this would all be part of the subscription. Here we're just taking a look at Ottawa, and like I said before, let's say we wanted to look at 2 indicators. So we wanted to understand core housing need and 0 to 14 years old. So where are kids living in high concentrations and high concentrations or core housing needs. So by simply clicking and understanding this little legend here, from low means low concentration to high concentration of core housing need, as we see here, core housing need percentage, and 0 to 14 at the bottom. So the blues are showing us concentrations of kids. So if we just wanted to understand, again, where these 2 things concentrate the most and overlap, then we can just simply click on the black, and here we have them. Down here, it lists them as well. So if you wanted to see the intersection and kind of correlate to these DAs, and all the DAs are coded, so you can find exactly which region name is here, the population, the indicator value, and the comparison indicator as well. So the indicator 1 and indicator 2 comparison. So that's again how we've been using these to develop marketing strategies, to develop targeted engagement strategies as well. So actually the team right now is in Burnaby doing a crime prevention guns and gangs strategy with the city of Burnaby, and we used this exact map to look at engaging separate or different populations. So we wanted to make sure we were looking at all of these different demographics, and I'll show you this just to get an idea of what's in here. But obviously the male, female, the types of dwellings that exist in a community, the average age, average family sizes, core housing need, like we saw, male, female, ethnocultural composition, suitability of housing, Gini index, high school diplomas, poverty rates, living alone. This is a really, really key one for looking, for instance, at seniors and core housing need. And you can see that the map changed, of course. But let's say we wanted to look at 65 and over and living alone. And if anybody's coming to the heat dome Discardo discussion, this is going to be a huge conversation, because again, knowing where some of these vulnerable populations live is going to obviously be very, very, very helpful for us in terms of targeting some of the cooling centers and water availability in these areas. So knowing where the seniors live, especially when they're living alone, is a big, big advantage for us. So those are some of the features here in terms of the map. I do want to show you what's happening at the top here too. And again, some of the value add on this, and you'll say, well, I can do this. Again, I can go out to census and figure this out myself. The cool part is it's here and it's done for you. So you don't have to redo the analysis. You don't have to redo the comparisons. You can kind of pick and choose your comparison communities on any of these themes, and you're kind of off and running. So we can see some of the family characteristics, the comparison to your provincial averages. And again, some of the things that we see and use all the time in social needs assessments. So we pick the things that we always develop in our reports, because if you guys are paying us to do your social needs assessments and we're doing them over and over again, then it's pretty good indicator that they're valuable to you. And you can probably save yourself a couple $100,000 by just, grabbing something like this instead. Population trends, maybe I'll show you a couple more of these aspects as well. And like I said, it's a big data set in here, and it's not easy to load, but it takes a couple of seconds. But same concept, we can start to look at trends over time, age and gender, female population. The one that is really interesting for me, and we've been using this in our gender-based violence zero GBV project with University of Alberta, University of Calgary, and 5 rural communities. I'm not showing you rural, I'm just showing you Ottawa just for fun. But again, we could go into some of these very small communities as well and understand what's happening. So let's kind of pick on Olds Alberta as an example here. We can start to understand some of the male-female and gender gap analysis, and this again was highly influenced by that project to look at the gender gap. So things like income inequality at different income brackets, and understanding, for instance, how that trends over time is really interesting. So the aspect for us that was a bit shocking was understanding, for instance, the under 10,000. So it's things, we know that there's a massive gender gap, but to see this stuff broken out like this with specific data at this level is really huge. And then of course, being able to go into Olds and finding out exactly where in neighborhoods low-income females live. Gives us an idea of where gender-based violence preventative services can go, and where we might actually do some different advocacy, because this is a pattern that's seen in many small communities as well, and it's much more concentrated in smaller rural centers than it is in bigger centers, believe it or not, and it's much more concentrated in certain provinces than others as well. And you can probably take your guess where we see the greatest, but even just me switching from Olds to Ottawa, you can see that gap is not as massive in Ottawa than it was in Olds. So that's kind of the flyby. Obviously, we've got some education and labor force, immigration and mobility. Like I said, give it a couple of seconds to load up in here. But in the meantime, if folks have questions, let me take some of those. Subscription fee. Well, and you guys can tell me if it's properly priced by voting with your credit cards. But pricing is $29 a month. So that's the concept here, is that we're making it super cheap. And hopefully you're thinking, okay, how much does a research assistant cost to get me an equivalent of this? And hopefully you see the value that $29 is worth it for the month to get this data at your fingertips. So that's that question. Let's see what else we have. Oh, subscription, you show Calgary. Obviously, there's loads of neighborhoods in those big cities. What does it look like in a smaller? Yes. Okay, why don't we look at Moncton? Sure. Okay, let's go to Moncton. Okay. That's a great idea. Moncton, where are you at, Moncton? 5,000 communities is kind of, it's mind-boggling how complex this country is, hey? Moncton. Let's see if I got that, if I clicked it. Oh, let me see. I think I need to reload it here so that it goes into the right spot. Pardon me while I do that. And Trav, do we have any other questions in the other chats?
Yep, there's just one around how long does it take for the software to obtain current data? How old is this data?
Yeah, so it's the 2021 census. As soon as the new census comes in, we'll obviously update our stuff, but that's not going to be up to us.
And then there's a follow-up one along those lines, is what are all the data sets that are used within here?
Yeah, so like I said, this particular product only has the census stuff. It's simply that. So the whole idea is to just have this done in a better way. Here's a smaller community, but I did promise you Moncton.
And there's also a follow-up. Do you have also comparative previous census data? So what year?
Some in some of the comparisons, but not all of it has it. So we have some of it in terms of population changes, but we've concentrated on 2021 on this one. Yeah.
So there is some 2016 within here as well, if it was comparable.
Yes. But not the focus on this one is really on 2021 to give you that current what's happening in the community currently. Oh my gosh, Moncton, of course, it's the M's are so popular. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Any other questions that I can answer while I scroll the M's? Moncton. There we go. Okay, does that look familiar, Moncton? There we go. And yeah, we can see, yeah, it's pretty detailed still for smaller cities for sure. And I mean, I should show you too that we can zoom in quite a bit. Like we can zoom in all the way at kind of the street level. This is actually how, if you use this, for instance, we had postal codes for kids that were being trafficked, kind of the houses they were coming from, and obviously we had this data set, and then we had Google Maps. So we actually found kind of the neighborhoods where the kids were being trafficked and understood kind of the trends around that. And then we were able to, and you can see here, like you can kind of narrow in exactly on the street level, but we were able to find kind of the similar neighborhoods in different parts of the city that had similar characteristics. And then by using kind of Google Maps Street View, we were able to identify some of the houses that had gang signs on them. So there's like really specific ways that people are using this data when, you know, it's part of your toolkit. So I don't want to make it seem like, oh, this is the be all end all you need. It's another tool in your toolbox that's going to help you identify what's happening. But this kind of helps you create like your hit list in terms of preventative programs. That helps you understand risk in the neighborhoods. And these risks are the reason we have census every 5 years is because these population trends are, they stand the test of time to a greater extent than other trends, right? So there's a reason why we're still using 2021. It's the best kind of population level analysis at this kind of micro detail. Of course, there's tons of other data sets out there that you should layer on top of this, but you should always start with the basics. And if you don't understand the basics, then you kind of, you know, I don't want to say you got no business doing social planning, but you know, you really do need to begin with this. There's, like I said, there's a really great rationale for why population demographics are so essential in social policy planning. So whether you use this or something else, you know, I would always encourage, and we definitely it's our practice as well to do so. So yeah, maybe I'll see what else is in here. St. John Census, CMA, city data. So yes, okay, so this we use CSD. CSD and DA are the categories that we use for this. Didn't you mention you also crime and violence related data? We have that data, just not in this product. So there is crime data that can be layered on top of this that would require us to actually collaborate with your local law enforcement though. So what we do actually, and we've done this many times, we take this as the baseline and then we layer on top of it crime data or you know, food distribution data, services, etc., so that we can understand kind of where services are located relative to population needs. But that would be like a add-on feature. So this one is really just that, where you start. And so if anybody has those additional requirements, I'll encourage you, here we'll put up the getting in touch with us. So you can, again, purchase this online. You can plug in your credit card and off you go. It's easy enough to do. But if you also need that additional analysis or have something specific in mind, like, oh, I'd love to see, you know, my homelessness outreach data on top of it. We've literally just are presenting on that later today to a Calgary shelter that did exactly that. They wanted to understand where their outreach teams were relative to crime rates, relative to census neighborhoods, so that they understood where they wanted to expand their outreach programming and kind of those reach out vans, et cetera, that they provide. So that's it in a gist. I think I got all of the questions. Oh, CSD means kind of to hear just a DA means dissemination area, and a CSD census a census district. Yeah, so it's like your city. CSD is like the most common form of a city. CMA is like a bigger catchment. And then DA is that tiny neighborhood dissemination area that I demoed before. So sub-neighborhood level. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. And yeah, looking forward to seeing the reception on this. And you'll probably see screenshots of this and reports from Help Seeker and our customers. So we'll definitely see how this take-up goes and improve from there. Thanks. Bye, everybody.